Welcome back to the shop, everyone. It's Wednesday morning, September 12th. All right, what my plans for today is I'm going to try to finish up the ailerons, do a couple more, at least one more coat of dope on the ailerons, and then do the final little adjustments on the wings, because everything is pretty much ready to go. I mean, when you look at them, it's just these little teeny. I just want to go back and double check things on this. All the ribs have been adjusted properly so that it's going to be a nice smooth surface. I need to put some epoxy on one of my little wing tubes because it's still rotating. So that's no big deal. That's a quickie. So hopefully by the end of the day today, I'm going to start covering this stuff. It's my goal anyway. If I can at least get the ailerons covered. I normally like to start off on an elevator because it's an easy thing to cover. So I may have the elevator fully prepped, ready to go, and get that covered first. I'll probably do a test piece. I'll make a little box and then do a test covering to see how the stuff that I'm using this time works. See, I've still got a little bit of touch up to do. So I'll and this was the other weird little thing, is it's straight, but it's got these little wavers in it from the original sanding. So I may just try to go ahead and sand those little wavers out because they stand a little bit tall here and a little bit tall here. I think I can come on in and do it. If not, I may just get some 1/32 balsa, lay a strip down on either end of it, and just go ahead and just glue it down, sand it off. And that way that'll take care of that little bit of a waver. So I might just go ahead and do that, because if I get the balsa wet first, I can flex it around this curve, because you could probably see it nicely through here, that it looks like it dips down, comes back up, dips down. It is straight. I mean, it's just the way that it was originally sanded. So here's my little conundrum. You see me battling with this gem for many times. And I'm going to see if I can get the camera. You might be able to see it. What it's doing here is it's coming all the way down, and then at the bottom it's cutting out. And I've been struggling with this thing since the word go. And as much as I don't want to cut it apart, as you can see, there's a gap on this side with this piece here, and it's in on this. So this, something here was not properly set up when it was originally put together. And now that I've got all this glued in, it's going to make for a mess. So what I'm probably going to do is I'm probably going to cut this on the bottom. I'm going to cut this joint and then cut it down an L. So I'll take this off and do that. Because I want to try to get it straight, I've had to release the top piece. So once again, this piece has been cut here, and this piece has now been cut. So the top is pretty good. There's still a little bit of a wow down in here. I mean, I could have made a whole new rudder on the outside, but it's too late to work on that. I don't want to take the time. So I'm going to go ahead and do whatever I need to do to make adjustments to this, just to finish this up. Because it is a rudder. I mean, it's, they do their job. So I'll take care of it the best way I can. But I'll take this off. I may end up just trying to come on in and cut this right now with it already still attached to here, because I'm still playing games with the with this because of the looseness. That was a problem I was having potentially with the bounce back on the servo. So I haven't even worked on that yet. But anyway, let me go ahead. I'll cut that stuff apart, get back to work. I'll bring it back in from time to time during the day just to show the progression of where I'm at. And then I will build a little jig, a test piece. I'm trying to find the one that I used on a plane in the past. But you'll see it. It's something real easy to put together, and that way when it comes time to do a test covering, I'll see how well that Polytack works. And we'll at least get that accomplished today, just so that you guys can watch. You can learn as I learn, because I've never used this stuff before, but I think it's going to work the same way that just using nitrate dope on the project would work. So anyway, I'll bring it back. Hang on tight. All right, I went 20 steps farther than I wanted to. Here's the rudder post. It's all been cut apart because I had to. All right. The more I dove into it, I had to do some shaving. The more I dove into it, the more it was apparent on where the problem was. Everything is good up here. There's a little bit of flexion up here. That's not that big of a deal. That's not as critical as what is down here. So this happened one of two ways. Either this thing, when it was glued together, because it is plied, it's plied balsa, or no, that's plied spruce, so it's 16th spruce bent and epoxied into place. Either this was done with this twist already in it, or when it was glued to here, the twist was glued into it. That I don't know. Either way, when it was originally put together, something was done wrong. Yeah, go figure. So anyway, what I'm going to do is because it's already set down, I've got it clamped on pretty good. I'm going to set just a little wedge in here, and I'm going to get this whole corner wet, because here's where it is. It's flat all the way up to here. So I'm going to put a wedge in right here, and then I'm going to weigh this down and then walk away for a while. So it's going to take time away from me doing this, but I've got some stuff to do this morning. I got to go run over to the hardware store and get some more stuff for this. I got to get some MEK, methyl ethyl ketone, to thin that stuff, the Polytack. So I got to go get some of that, and then who knows, I may stop over by Sherwin-Williams and pick up some more little brushes. I've probably got enough just to get me started. So anyway, so that's what I'm going to do. So I'll get this all prepped up, and then go do some shopping, come on back. When I come on back, I'll bring it back, and we'll see how well this is. I'm hoping it's going to dry. I'm going to turn the heater on here. If I end up having to go upstairs and get a little fan, I'll get a little fan just to get this dried quickly. But it is spruce, so it's going to be clamped up, and I may end up having to leave this thing clamped up for the rest of the day, overnight, until it dries all the way, because I got to get this thing pretty saturated. So I'll do that, and I'll bring it back about an hour or so. Alright, I took off, went down, went shopping, came back with the evil juice. The stuff that when you're using this, you better wear a respirator. That stuff will kill you. Alright, what I did was, this was all wet, and it still had a lot of spring to it. I'm thinking what was done. I could be entirely wrong. But when I'm cutting into this, it gummed up the blade. As you can see on the blade, there's ambroid in there. So what I did, I decided when I came back, just heat it up. And as soon as I heated it up, look at how it's so flexible and floppy. I think that's ambroid. So I'm going to put this down and wait for everything to cool down. And then if that's the case, that's what it was ambroid, and very easily adjusted just with heat. I don't need to do anything else to it, because when it warms up, it does get flexible, and then when it cools down, it kind of hards back up, because the ambroid always stays somewhat flexible. But at least if I can make the adjustment in this part on here, and then up in here on this part, everything should be good as gold. So anyway, we'll let this cool down, and I'll bring it right back. Alright, here's the final product. As you can see, she's sitting, there's no more lifts. Sorry about that, there's no more lifts under here. We're sitting flat, and we are sitting flat. I mean, there's about a 1/16 of an inch, but that's fine, because this tapers on the end of it, so that little bit's fine. I'm not concerned about that. So I'll put the rudder post back in again. And then once the rudder post is everything's back in and properly lined up, I'll glue it all back together again and make sure that she's sitting flat. So then hopefully it's fixed. It's done. I'm hoping. No guarantees. That's the way this plane works. Even though it was built 30 years ago and it looked like it died 1,000 deaths, it's still dying. So anyway, I will get this all set up, and I want to go back. I'm on the tail for the pulls. I'm just going to get some new cable. So right now I'm just going to shorten it on either side. I'll cut this one apart and then shorten this one. I just want to verify if the problem with the neutral in the little neutral band, the area, the space, the gap on the rudder servo is fine, and it was just the looseness in the cables that made the rudder keep bouncing back into itself. Because as soon as it tried to zero and popped it to the other side, it hit the other side of the neutral zone, and then it bounced it back again. So that's what I'm hoping the problem was. So we'll find out as soon as this gets all glued back together again, and I'll run outside and we'll test it, and then we'll get back to work on those. I'll build that little teeny jig, and then I got the MEK, I got the Polytac, and I got some chip brushes. So we're gonna go ahead and we'll do our first test with the hopes that all will be well. All right, it's 11:37 a.m. Been a busy little morning, but I've repaired stuff kind of sort of almost by leaps and bounds. All right, here is the fully, it's still a little rubbery, so I got to wait for the epoxy to set up a little bit more before I start shaving it off, but it's still kind of on the rubbery side. But she is straight as an arrow. So there is no more flex in this. So now all I got to do is I'm going to put it outside, let it finish setting up. It's a little cooler outside, but it'll work okay. Going to finish letting this set up. We'll reinstall this back on with a little cross beam, and then I'll finish readjusting these right now, because what I ended up doing is grinding these off. I'm going to clip this one off again too. I decided to go brass because I needed a bigger tube to get this through once you kind of start boogering up the vinyl coating on it. Don't know if this is going to be what I'm going to fly with. I'll make that decision before I fly it. But right now, I didn't hurt. I just have a couple little scuffs on the vinyl coating. Nothing happened to the wire, so the wire's still good. So I'm not really. I think it's going to be fine. It's just a rudder. You can kind of fly without the rudder. It's really hard to fly without these. All right. Anyway, so I will. Don't know if I'm going to crimp these down yet because it's brass. I mean, just like you got one chance to crimp it anyway, because once you crimp it, you can't uncrimp it. I don't know if I'm going to crimp it right now, or if I'm going to I'll probably put the rudder back on and see how everything adjusts. And if I need to tauten it up a little bit, I'll do that, because I want to go out. I've got the fronts tightened down all the way, and I had the backs tightened down all the way. So I need to relax everything, and I want this so that way, once it's put on, I just do a little bit of adjustment on this end, not on that end. I just want to kind of leave that end the way it is down there. So as soon as this is ready to rock, I'll show you the results on that one. Hopefully good. Up here, what I decided to do is, instead of boxing the whole thing out, I'm coming from here down to here with a small piece of wood. So if I need to get in there, I'm just going to cut out this little wedge, and then I can just go ahead and either do a repair a little triangle piece of wedge on the back, or just come in later on and put in some stock here and just make a little plate, and then just once it's covered or painted, even if it's just a regular piece of wood painted, I could just glue it into that position. So I'm just going to have it set up for a pre-opening area just in case I need to get in here. That way I'm not spending more time, spending more time. I don't want to spend any more time. Stupid finger. So let me get back inside. We'll let this thing set up all the way. I'll reattach it. I'll get everything I'll pull out at the little workbench. I will get everything set up, and I'm hoping when I'll have you guys watching when I turn the radio system on. If this thing doesn't sit there and twitch back and forth, we're good as gold. So, all right, I'm going to build my little test piece for using the polytack nitrate dope, because I've got to build it really quick. I'm going to use stuff that it's going to come in contact with on it. There's going to be balsa, a piece of at least one strip of come on brain, you can work, spruce, and then I'll put in a strip of plywood. There we go. And you'll see when I'm getting ready, everything will be all prepped down with three coats of nitrate dope, so it's ready to rock, and then we're going to go for it. So this could be my test piece, and later on, I don't know if you're going to see it today, it'll probably be later on, I'm going to shoot some paint on it because I want to see how everything works, paint on the bleed through. So it's going to be a finalized piece, it's going to get painted, so, and you'll get to see that. So anyway, let me get back to work on this stuff, and I'll bring it back in when the rudder's reattached, and hopefully no twitches. All right, back. We're going to do the test. Seems to be a noisy time of day right now. Out cutting the grass. All right, radio. This radio's turned on. This is not turned on yet. Let me go ahead and turn it on. And so far it's on. That's what the problem was. It was the loose cables. It was feeding back on itself. Now that it's on there, I can flick it, smack it with my finger. It's not dancing, so boom! More money saved. All right, another problem down. Another one to go. That makes me really happy. Makes me real happy. All right, let's get back inside. All right, everybody, welcome back. It's Friday afternoon, probably about 3 o'clock. Out having some fun this morning. Went up to the field, did some flying. Everything came back, nothing broke. It was a good day. All right, what we're going to work on now, I need to make little bottom pieces where it's going to have a cutout. It's going to have a semicircular cutout on both sides. I don't know how I want to run this back. This one is a shorter distance. I could probably leave it here and it would be fine. I do have some light ply. I'm just trying to figure out how I'd like to work it with the light ply, because it does have a lot of flexibility to it in one direction, and even in the other direction it's got quite a bit. All this is really doing is just holding the covering, and that's all that it's doing. But because it's got to stand off a certain amount from here, it almost needs to, you know what I could probably do, I got to figure this one out, because the fuel tank's going to sit up front. I don't know exactly where it's going to go. Back here is okay the way it sits. If I really wanted to, I can just go ahead and put a solid piece in over the whole bottom piece with the cutout. Because this stuff hardly weighs anything. It's just the front piece. I got to think about this one. This one might take a bit of figuring on how I want to put it together. So I got to think about this. It might take a little bit of time. I'll probably go ahead and cut something for the back. I'll put that together. Figure out how I want to work on the front, because I can do the front the same way if needed, and that might be the way it goes on. I don't know. I haven't decided at that point yet. So Either way, let's get something done. All right, it's a little after 6 o'clock. It's getting dark. Sun's starting to set. I know I didn't keep you guys well informed during this one. All right, here's what I did. I kind of went around. I sanded everything on the bottom. Put 2 more coats of nitrate on it, nitrate dope. So I got 1 more sand with some 220. Then I've got to put 1 more coat on, do a final sand with 320, and we'll call it done. I got rid of all the little bumps. I still want to plug these holes, so I got to remember to do that before I put my next coat on. I came in, I threw some fill in here recent about, I don't know, probably half hour ago, so you can see it's still got a little bit of pink in there. So I haven't decided if I want to shim these up. There's just so much little stuff to do. I've got to really kind of figure out what I really want to focus on. A little beat up there, I could probably fix that. So anyway, like this little stuff here, I don't know. I'll figure it out as I go along. These I finished, and then I filled, so they just need a final sanding when they're set up, dried, both sides. So this will be done. I got the landing gear off, of course, because I'm doing the final prep before we cover it, and that's what we got to do. All right, here's what I did. I went with light ply, and I went full panel on the bottom of each one. That way I've got more strength. I'm going to put a fuel tank on this, but I may put a smoke pump on it. If I put the smoke pump in, I'm going to need another spot for another tank. It's going to have 2 tanks. So right now I'm kind of in the point where I'm just more worried about setting up for the gasoline, just for the engine, for the gas tank. This, if I run the smoke pump, because all that smoke's going to be cooking out the back of the plane on the bottom from the exhaust right here. Here's an open spot. And smoke oil will come up inside here. So that's kind of my... Right now I got to figure out what I want to do with that one. If I'm going to do a smoke, if I'm going to run smoke in it, say I'm going to put the pump in it and I'm going to run the smoke, I'm probably going to have to pack something on the top of this inside. Just to keep the oil from coming up inside the fuselage, because I don't want that oil getting inside. If it's on the outside or kept on the outside, no big deal, you just wipe it down. So that's why I decided to go with full light ply, and it's more than strong enough. I just did a full box. I planned on originally coming across here and then having something go up around the outside with a lead going up to the front, and I just decided just do the whole thing. That's one less thing I have to worry about, because I've got to have a spot to pick up the plane. The landing gear's here. Most cases when you're picking up the plane, you're going to go up on the front and then underneath. So I'm going to try to figure out, once this is all put together and covered, before I throw all the rest of the weight inside of it, I've got to find where the soft points are that I got to keep my hands away from. So what I'll probably end up doing is, when it's picking up and moving around, I'll probably pick it up just by these on either side. You know, we'll see how things go when that plane gets done. So anyway, here's where we're kind of at with this. That stuff won't set up till, you know, overnight. It'll finish drying out. So then I just got to figure out when I'm going to be putting in the time. Tomorrow, Saturday, Sunday morning, I'll be down here, guaranteed Sunday morning and Sunday night, to finish working on this. I decided to, instead of cover, because you can see those things are sitting there screaming, cover me, please cover me. I'm going to wait on that. I'm going to do those before I do the fuselage, because the fuselage is the hardest part to do. So I'll start with I want to finish the tail too. So maybe that'll be my next stop, because there's not too much to do on the other side. As you can see, I do have this in, and I filled it, so I'm just waiting. I got to pop this off. It should just pop out right now. There we go. So Yeah, the filler stuck more to this than it did to that, so I'll do a little more work in there. It's pretty darn close, so I mean I could pretty much call that done even if I ended up just taking some of this filler out. I'll sand it down just so it's close, and then we'll call that done. I've got a with this, I don't know if I said in the other video or one of my other little clips, these I want to get new ones. I can try to refill these, but these are just old and beat up and yellowed. So I think I'll get some new ones. I know that I've got to have an artificial horizon, a couple other things, fuel. There's an altimeter, so I can do altimeter, fuel, and some other little doodads. And then all I got to do is just paint it black. This will be black. I'll probably leave. It's kind of hard to see it because I've got it upside down. This part, sometimes I'll paint this inside the window. I'll paint that black too. I may do that, and I might not do that, just because of the amount of work it's going to take to do that and have it look pretty decent. This color, greenish gray, I'm going to paint. Like I said, I was planning on painting the inside up to a point. I just got to figure out where that point's going to be. Because if I wanted to do it, I could paint the whole inside all the way back to here. Maybe just up to this former, and then leave the rest naked, so when you look inside you see it and it's all gray. So that's something, I mean, that's going to be, you know, an hour's worth of work tops. I'll just mix up some gray paint, some water-based paint, and just paint it. So, and then I'm going to paint this stuff back in here gray as well, because like I said, this I'm going to trim out, so it's going to be a little upside down triangle on both sides, and this is where I'm going to screw in little triangles of clear, that PET G plastic, just so that it's like it's a place to check the connections in the back. When they're actually going through on the real ones and they're doing an inspection, they have these so that they can see the hardware, make sure nothing else is back here. They can jam this up. So I think I'm going to do the same thing. Instead of just being aluminum sheeting, it's going to be clear plastic so you can see. So I'm just going to come in, because this will get painted orange. This whole thing will be painted orange when I paint it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot this piece here orange before it gets reinstalled, because all the rest of this will be painted at the same time. It won't be painted first. It'll be painted when the rest of the plane's being painted. So if I paint this orange, paint this gray on the inside, then this will be done. It'll be ready to go. So at least in the inspection area, it's going to be gray on the inside, just like it's gray up front, because I want it that way. Alright, anyway, let me get you back in the shop. And it is 6:30 p.m. So it's been a long day playing and working. So I'm gonna pretty much just call it a day. So it could be the end of this video, and maybe it's not. See you when I get back in the shop.